And we're back here on Second Street talking about some private options in healthcare that are emerging here in Canada that help patients outside the public system. We're talking with Gino Stirpe, who's the Vice President with Vumi Canada. Gino, I'm fascinated by your company and others in that space, and just sort of the reality that, for years in Canada, we had politicians boasting about our healthcare system. We've seen, sadly, that the system has been eroding to the point that now you have private health insurance companies popping up to provide care to Canadians so they can get out of the country. Could you just give us an idea, how many different options are there? I mean, obviously your company is one, but how big is the market in terms of the number of firms offering similar services where it's this insurance to get care outside of Canada?
Good question, Colin. Right now, it's roughly, I would say, about a handful of firms in Canada operating that offer, this type of insurance. We'll call it impats, right, as opposed to like expat insurance, because in order to buy our product, you need to be a Canadian citizen. You need to be covered by your provincial healthcare. Once you lose your provincial healthcare, we are technically off risk, right? So you get corporations that will need this for their, people who are working abroad, overseas, but they are Canadians, right? And they're there right. They need this type of coverage.
And so what has been the growth in the industry? We talk about the erosion of the system. Is that resulting in a sizable growth to industry, or is it stable, declining? Any thoughts on that?
It's growing. It's definitely growing. We've grown exponentially year over year. So it's 5 years we're in Canada. Vumi Canada is in Canada, and we've experienced tremendous exponential growth. So from that standpoint, I'm surprised there's not more carriers in this space. I guess it is a very technical space, right? We are backed by our Vumi Group mother company out of Dallas, Texas, and it is a major player in that space.
I think it's something that Canadians intuitively don't think about, because we do have this healthcare system, and for so long it's been revered by politicians. They praise it so much, and now it's just at a point where things are often leading to too many patients falling between the cracks. And so I think maybe potentially that's why people aren't looking for this type of service until they actually need it. How does it work with the tax status? I'm interested in this because we pay a lot in taxes as Canadians for the healthcare system, and then when it's not there for us and we need to then pay for, say, surgery directly or private insurance abroad, like what you're talking about, how does that work? Is there any recognition there that Canadians should receive some kind of a break because they're making these expenses?
Yes, there is, Colin. Government loves what we do. We're taking strain off of the Canadian medical healthcare system, right, and sending people abroad to be fixed. So they, on a group level, the plan is 100% tax deductible, and it's a non-taxable benefit to the employee, except for the province of Quebec. Then it's the provincial, tax, like your traditional group benefits. And on an individual basis, your regular employee's got his tax credits based on his income. And if a self-employed person, if they have their own healthcare spending account, the plan does qualify as a PHSP plan.
Okay. And what about public policy changes? What needs to change in this country from your perspective to potentially support people who are taking pressure off the public system?
Right. I think the government can do more. We saw Australia. Australia was saved by the introduction of private healthcare, and I think Canada's we're a few years before that happens here too, where private healthcare it can help them. So they should make it easier for insurance companies. They should offer the loosening of the rules, so the person doesn't have to go out of province. They can receive a treatment within their home province, or maybe cover them. There's a lot of things. I think a lot of little things that could be done, which all amount to end up being a sizable, ease the insurance companies' rules and regulations. For starters, right. Give more tax incentive, right?
That is interesting, because in the Australian model, they do have that public system, but like you're saying, private health options and even financial incentives for those that do go out and purchase private health insurance. Gino, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to chat today.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me, Colin.